So last time in the last lesson we saw how we can use a development environmental file, how to set up a sample environmental file, and in the one before we saw what we can do to do a protected API. So any request that goes throughout our, at the moment, any request that goes to our protected environment is gonna require a JSON Web Token to work properly. And what we want to do today. Today I want to show you a different way to make something protected. We're gonna show you a few different ways before actually consolidating, so that you have a better idea of which options are available. So first of all, let's start by installing some packages that are required for this one. So now we're gonna use a package called ExpressUnless, which allows us to use an express package, to an express route unless some conditions are met. So applies to everything but something. So we're going to npm install save express unless. So, and in here we're going to import star as unless from express unless, and now we can actually essentially get rid of this. We don't really need to have this up. So what we need, we want to put a middleware, verify token middleware, which is essentially simply an express middleware, a real express middleware. So it takes a request and the type is of express.request. Then we want to have a response, which is of type express response, and the next function, which is an express.next function. So a middleware, it just has to call a next function to call the next point of the loop. So to use the middleware, all you have to do is app.use verify token middleware. And every time we call this function here, every time express is called, this function is going to be executed. This is the default behavior of an express middleware. So I'm gonna do npm run start dev to start our development server. And now that our application is running on port 4000, we can actually open the GraphQL schema. I'm going to add in here a console.log to show that the middleware is being called, so that every time we do a request on our server, any type of request is gonna go through this verified token, and something is going to happen. So every time I execute a query or even simply refresh, let's see what I have available. I need to have an ID and a register user. So let's do a mutation, register user, username test middleware.com, and the password is gonna be the password. I'm gonna retrieve the user ID, email and username and the message. So now we go back to our editor. We can see that the middleware function is being called. It's called multiple times because even if I just refresh the page, the middleware will be called whenever that is gonna do an introspection every time. Well, now it's probably cached, but if I do an introspect query performed by GraphQL, I'm going to get this function called. So what we want to do in here, we want to put, we want to read the token coming from our request. Const token is equal to request.headers.authorization, and now we can actually simply console.log this token coming from the request. Now in GraphQL, by default, I can see only query variables, but actually in here I can actually define this object, and I can say header editor enabled, set to true. What I am now going to be able, if I refresh this page, is to have a second tab called request headers, where I can put any header that I want. So just to do a quick example, I'm actually going to do a request.headers. So if I switch, actually let me see one of the books. Just gonna take an idea of a book. So what's happening in here, ignoring the error messages that we're gonna fix later, these are all the headers that are coming through. Now I can add extra request headers. And when I do a request now, well, this one has to be in quotes. Okay, I can get this token through the header, so I can just customize the headers that are being sent through GraphQL LI. So what we want to do, in the authorization, we're gonna put our token, and then the next thing we want to do is to say, if we have a token, so actually, if not token, return res.send status for a 1. Otherwise, I can call the JWT verify function. So import tar as JWT from JSON Web Token. Well, I'm not using ExpressJS anymore. So what I can actually do is JWT.verify, and then in here I'm gonna take my token that I just got from the authorization header. Then I need to provide the second parameter should be the JWT secret, so process.env.jwt secret as a string. We inform GraphQL that TypeScript that this is a string. Otherwise it will complain that could be something undefined, because it might be that the environment variable hasn't been set. So the first parameter is an error. The second parameter is going to be the decoded parameter, and the last one, oh no, there are only two, I believe. And then if there is an error, it means it hasn't been decoded correctly. So I'm going to return res.send status for a 1. Otherwise, I can simply call the next function and remove all of this. So now our application is not going to work, because when I call it, well, essentially what is happening in here is that when I call any function, the request is a 401, so GraphQL cannot actually parse the response that you get, because it's simply an unauthorized response. So what we need to do, we need to say, well, if this is our token, then we cannot, if there is not a token, we send an error. So what we want to do is to actually allow this, well, actually we need to still call the next function, and now it's working again, because of course the authorization is working. So we're gonna do a mutation and register a new user, token password, and email, user. Well, we just want the token, to be honest, so we're gonna do token. This is our user token. We're going to paste the token in here, and we're gonna do by standard this should be called bearer. This is a bearer token. And now, even if we uncomment, let's uncomment all of this, the token actually in here should be actually split with a space, and then we take the second part of the string, since we add this bearer token followed by a space and then the token. So we remove the bearer part, and we just take the token from here to the end. Actually, what we can do, we can show the decoded user that comes through here. So when I do a request, such as, well, let's take the history. Let's see what is the mistake in here. It returned in 401. Okay, so there is no decoded. Let's see which JWT secret I used to actually create the file. So if we go in the schema, well, it's the same JWT. Oh, JWT pass. I called it JWT pass, not secret. Alright, let's do a restart. And now we are authorized. Now, because previously we had this happening, this is gonna happen every single time that you call the app. However, we can define through unless we can do something a little bit better. So we can say that verify token middleware dot unless, which is spread by express unless, is equal to unless, and then when we actually call our middleware, we say dot unless, and here we can say some middleware options, and this can be the path, method, extension, or something custom. So in here, I'm just gonna make a simple example in which the path, it's an array, and let's say it's unauthorized. So if I go here and I go to unauthorized, it says cannot get unauthorized. But if I would be to take any other page, it will be just unauthorized. So GraphQL express unless actually allows me to overcome this issue. And well, this is everything for this video. I hope you like and you find it useful. Now, what I plan to do is on the next lesson, I'm going to show you a different method to secure your app when using GraphQL. Of course, using this method in GraphQL means that you might need to set up 2 different endpoints, or maybe you need to parse the GraphQL query to figure out if your schema can be accessed or not. Or maybe you need to split the schema into two parts, which isn't the nicest way. So we're gonna see other methods that allow us to do this token verification. If you watched the video so far, thank you very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, bye bye.